Welcome to another edition of Inside UFLB. My name is Dean Millard, head of baseball operations for Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports and the commissioner for your Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball. This is a show presented by Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports, and it's broadcast proudly on Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network. We will tell you all about that as we go. But the goal of this show, just like a perfect game, 27 straight outs. So we're looking for 27 minutes exactly from the time we threw out the first pitch. Of course, big thanks to our title sponsor, as mentioned, Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports. Check it out, www.uffsports.com, where sports NFTs come to play. You'll find all the information at www.uffsports.com.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking to? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
This is how you can get in touch with the show. On Twitter, I'm at Duck Millard. You can get us on Twitter at the UFLB. If you'd like some information about the league, how you can get involved, franchises always for sale, scouting opportunities, maybe you want to become a GM, info UFLB at uffsports.com. And if you would like to get your show on Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network, if you have a fantasy show daily, monthly, weekly, send an email to UFSN at uffsports.com. Once again, there's the websites, uffsports.com and ultimatesportsnfts.com. So this is what we have for you today. Jeremy Wolf is going to join me. He is a part owner for franchise number 19. They will have the 19th overall pick in the UFLB. But more than that, he's with More Than Baseball, and he's a former professional baseball player, draft pick of the Mets, a member of Team Israel. So we're going to talk with Jeremy about what brought him in to our league and what it is that More Than Baseball is doing that is so very important. And it is so very important when it comes to helping out baseball players, whether it's during or after their career. We're also going to discuss the upcoming owner meetings. An article went out yesterday about the owner meetings with the dates. We will get into that, what those meetings will entail. I'll tell you all about that as we go. But first of all, let's get to our first guest. It is Jeremy Wolf from More Than Baseball.
Don't try to strike everybody out. Strikeouts are boring. Besides that, they're fascist.
Presented by Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports.
Throw some ground balls. More democratic.
Get in the game, where you own the game.
Well, I'm really excited about this next conversation I'm about to have. Jeremy Wolf is joining me, and Jeremy is part of team number 19, 19th in the bidding, an owner in a group, and also so much more. More Than Baseball is something we're going to talk about as well, and a former draft pick of the New York Mets. So, Jeremy, thanks very much for being a part of the show, first of all, today. And I always like to start with kind of origin stories. So how did you end up being in an ownership group in Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball?
Matthew Soren, one of my best friends, is a crypto nut. All he thinks about, all he talks about, all we talk about on the phone is baseball and crypto. And so he's been trying to get me to do something for a year now. I think he's been a part of your organization for a while, and he's like, you got to do it. Like, it's exciting. Like, it's fun. Like, it's exactly what's going to happen. Like, you love fantasy baseball. You love analytics. Like, put it together. Like, this is it. And I was like, okay, Matt, like, I'll see it when I see it. Or, okay, Matt, like, you got to convince me otherwise. Okay, Matt, like, let me talk to the people on the team. I'll learn where my money's going to go. And I had a conversation with him and the team of people. And then I met you guys who are running the league, and it gets me so excited about where the space is and also the future of where baseball can be. And the combination of the two is incredibly exciting for me as a baseball fan, as a former professional baseball player, as someone in crypto, as someone in insurance now who never thought he'd be in insurance, who's the young person in the office trying to understand this space. it's incredibly exciting for me to be on like the cutting edge of something new. And I couldn't be more excited about like what that brings.
Yeah, this is. I like to use the phrase "we don't know what we don't know" because everything is expanding so fast, and fantasy sports on the blockchain is really, really starting to take off. So we're all excited that people kind of getting in on the ground floor. First 30 franchises of UFLB. It is really exciting, and it's high level, high stakes professional fantasy. What do you love about fantasy baseball? How long have you been playing? What is it that gets you?
I've never played fantasy baseball.
So what made you get in then? And what are you looking forward to?
I played fantasy football. Everybody plays fantasy football with
Sure.
their work or their friends or whatever, but I never played fantasy baseball because the prospects of drafting a team in March and then having the same team until October was so boring to me. Because how many people in your league are actually going to be invested in it? And how legitimate is that league going to be? Is my $50 or $100 going to go to something that is going to be exciting and worthwhile, much like a fantasy football experience is? And that's why it's so popular and that's why people do it. But this caught my eye as a diehard baseball fan because of the longevity of the duration in which I choose to hold the team, and the organization in which is running the group is not my friend John who works at wherever and let's do fantasy baseball. The interest in not only my team but the participants in the league are going to be there. It's going to be exciting and it's going to be fun. It's not just going to be the 5 friends doing fantasy baseball. It's going to be something legitimate, and that really piques my attention. And so I'm excited that it is something that I plan on doing for however long they'll have me.
Yeah, and Matt Soren has been so fun to work with as our director of competition, and he's working on building the Legends League, and him and I and Gerald Smiley and Brian Hernandez as well. We try to make this as realistic as possible. Some things in fantasy, arbitration would be pretty hard to do in fantasy, but as much as the other stuff as we can bring in to make this feel like you are making major league decisions. And the greatest compliment we got was from a guy like Ian Kinsler that said, I could learn about this. I'm in the Padres front office and I could learn some things or people can learn some things. So I think that's the real neat thing about this is that this is unlike any other sort of fantasy league that is out there. And, it gives people an opportunity to feel what it is like to make those decisions that you're going to have to make, on a major league roster.
Yeah, and that's major praise from Ian Kinsler, right? A borderline Hall of Famer. My teammate on Team Israel, mine and Matt's teammates on Team Israel, and to have him be a spokesperson of something like this, and also being part of the San Diego Padres front office, is the highest praise that anything can get. So if Ian's behind it, like it's legit, and it's definitely something worth getting into. Why not?
Mm-hmm. One of the best things about being involved in this is that I have been able to get to know Ian Kinsler, who is one of the nicest guys. And there you are. You were a teammate of his on Team Israel. You were a Mets draft pick. Tell me a little bit about your baseball career. I just love, hearing about, where guys came from, what was their drive? What was being a professional baseball player like for you? What's it like?
It was a dream come true, right? Like I grew up a diehard Mets fan, and so to be drafted by the Mets was the most incredible accomplishment that I'll ever have. It's something that every baseball player dreams of. It's something that I had put in front of myself since I was in the second grade. In our yearbook in second grade, they said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "A professional baseball player for the New York Mets," and I did that. And I'm beyond grateful for that experience and that opportunity. And, I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. I played high school baseball, of course. I played college baseball at a small Division III school where I never could have imagined something like this to happen. But I played well at the right times, and the right people were there, and I was a left-handed hitter, thank God. And what I always wanted to happen happened, and it happened for me over 2 years. I played in with the Mets. I got injured. I got released, basically within 18 months of getting drafted. And so, like, I had lived out my dream. I went to one spring training. It was me, and then it was Zach Wheeler doing rehab, and I said, "This is cool." And then it was Tim Tebow, and I said, "Well, this is really something. Am I supposed to be here? I hope I do good today because I want to come back tomorrow." And so what I learned in that has really, like, propelled me throughout the rest of my journey, and where I am now and where I am going.
What an incredible story. Just to be able to tell that story of, here's the two guys I was sitting beside at spring training. I mean, just Tim Tebow. It's a rare story, and it's your story, and I think that's awesome. And part of your story also was Team Israel. I mean, getting a chance to help that country make the Olympics, as you mentioned, Ian Kinsler and Matt Soren playing with different guys, and wearing that uniform must have been pretty special.
Yeah, so I had always called them and said, like, I am Jewish and I would like to be on your team. And they said, you're not there yet, or you're not good enough, or you play a few more years, or whatever. And so I started More Than Baseball, which we'll discuss. And I said, I have a bunch of equipment and I'd love to bring it to Israel. Do you guys have an organization? And they said, yes, we do have an organization. Do you want to play outfield for the Olympic team? And I said, yes. And they brought me on, like, the next flight to Tel Aviv. I got my passport. I flew home. I go, Tel Aviv was cool. So then we do the first tournament in Bulgaria. And then I traveled Europe for a bit, did the second tournament in Lithuania. I go, this is really cool. And then I came home. We're about to prepare for the European tournaments in Germany. And this is like summer 2019. And I said, so we have the European tournaments in Germany. I have nothing holding me back from going to move to Israel. I'm just going to go move to Israel. And I flew to Israel. I dropped off my stuff at my apartment. I then got on a flight to Germany. We played tournament number 1. We came in 5th place, and then we played in Italy, and we qualified for the Olympics. And the entire team, even the 4 born and raised, served in the army Israelis, came to America, and I got the next flight to Tel Aviv, and I lived there for 6 months. And that wouldn't have happened if not for baseball, if not for the experiences that I had, and just kind of just doing things and going with the flow and seeing what happens. And so because of the nonprofit that I started, because of these experiences with, like, the New York Mets, because I just made a phone call, I became an Israeli citizen, and I got to represent Israel in the European tournaments, qualified for the Olympics, but unfortunately didn't go to Tokyo. They brought on this guy, Ian Kinsler or whatever, and perhaps you've heard of him, and some other really, really wonderful players. But to be part of that experience was something I'll have with me forever. So I'm beyond grateful for, like, the life that I had in baseball. And then the 5 years, I got drafted in 16. So the 5 years of basically professional baseball or semi-pro or Olympic baseball and international baseball that I've been able to have is because of that. And so I'm beyond grateful for what baseball has given me.
That is a wild and awesome story, and I absolutely love it. And it's a perfect lead-in, perfect segue into More Than Baseball. And I absolutely love what you guys are doing, but I want you to explain to our viewers, and especially the owners in our league, UFLB, what you guys are doing at More Than Baseball, and how it came about.
Yeah. I played in Brooklyn in 2017, and I got injured at the end of the season. I had surgery about 2 weeks later, and I was released about a month after that. And I couldn't even walk yet to pick up the phone to get that, to answer, to get the phone call, right, to get fired. And in any other industry, there are sorts of protections. There are sorts of things that there are norms in other industries that minor league baseball doesn't have. I think far too often in minor league baseball, you hear of sleeping on air mattresses, sleeping on couches, sleeping in kitchens, not eating well enough, not having equipment, struggling to make ends meet, the inability to transition out of playing. The system is set up that way because the system is that way. The system chews guys up and spits guys out. And I didn't want to be one of them, but I ended up being one of them. And I was tired of seeing guys who were 28, 29, 30 with a kid, or from the Dominican Republic, or just to feel like they have no future away from playing baseball. And to me, I felt that was, number one, unacceptable, that the league would allow that to happen to people who have dedicated themselves to this endeavor, right, of playing professional baseball. But that happens. That's business. That's the way it is. But I was really disappointed that I needed help. I needed help building a resume, or I needed help with finding an attorney. I needed help going back to school, or I needed help with financial guidance or mental health coaching. And there was nothing there for me. And now More Than Baseball exists because we are the only organization that provides these resources to minor leaguers, because it's the right thing to do. And because I was tired of seeing people who had nothing when they left. And why is that? Well, because there's nothing there for them. And so More Than Baseball is the response to all this. We work with the Players Association. We work with Major League Baseball. We work with the teams. And most importantly, we work with the players, because we've been able to garner everyone's trust. And everyone's trust means they trust us and we trust them. They trust us in a way that gives them things, provides them opportunities, provides them grants, access to education, learning English, or staying in the country, or seeking asylum. More Than Baseball provides that, because someone's got to do it, because before us, no one was doing it. And we trust them because we know that we're providing a resource that is going to be utilized. We're putting our time and our energy and our money and our support to people who need it. And they happen to be professional baseball players. But when people push back and say, well, they're professional athletes, well, so what? So what? Mm-hmm. They're people who need support. This is my community. This is what I did, and I'm giving my time and energy back to people who need it. And I'm beyond thrilled with the success that we've been able to have, and the notoriety within baseball that we've been able to garner because of this notion. If you love baseball, you love us. All we try to do is provide opportunities to ball players at every level to ensure their success.
I think people get so hung up when they hear somebody as a professional athlete with no, I don't want to say the 1%, but the smaller percent of, if you look at the history of professional athletes, the careers do not last 17 years for every player. Careers are short. Some guys are in and out. And when you spend your whole life working towards that goal, other things that you may have learned along the way by going and doing different things, you haven't learned, because you have to be so laser focused to become a professional athlete, even for a short amount of time. So I think people get so hung up on some of those high, the headline articles that they read about contracts and things like that, and they don't realize the amount of time that an athlete needs to put in just to even reach the major league level. Yeah,
and I don't care about those fans. I don't care about them. They're fans of what? They're fans of their team, but their team treats people badly. Don't you want the game of baseball to be successful down the line? Don't you want your child to have the opportunity to play at this level? But then if this was your child, would you want to provide him every opportunity possible to use baseball as a leverage to further himself in his career? Well, right now, that's not the case. Right now, players are 28, 29, 30 with a kid who live at home, who have nothing to show on their resume. Nothing, no prospects. They look at their time in professional baseball, what they've dedicated their life to seeing it as a detriment rather than a positive, rather than a stepping stone to something greater. So to me, it's more than just baseball. That's very funny, but it's more than just transitioning. It's the mental health effects of, do I have something when this journey's over, or this is all I have and I'm nothing without this? And we've been able to garner a really strong community of players, almost 3,500 now, who all say, right now I'm a baseball player. Or of our population, 70% of guys think they're going to make the major leagues, when in fact it's less than 10%. Mm-hmm. And so we have this large group of players who go, I'm going to make it to the major leagues, and this is all I'm focused on. 5 years ago, it said, this is all I'm focused on, and I'm not even going to worry about what's next. Right. Now, we say More Than Baseball is here for when you have those questions, for when you want to explore that, for when you are looking at something new, for when you are retiring, or you know that More Than Baseball is going to be there for you if you're ready to move on, where you don't need to hang around anymore to make $5,000 a year, where we can actually find you a job in tech sales and you'll make $60 or $65 or $70,000 a year because of your value and your experience. And we show that players have value, but there's value in numbers in the minor leagues. So we've been able to like touch all of these different points because every single point has a need, and a need to provide something of value, either from the minor league baseball player to the community, or from the community that could use the minor league baseball player's expertise or value or resource or whatever.
Morethanbaseball.org is the website. It's on the screen there if people would like to get more information. And I think it's, athletes of all kinds, as I mentioned, spend so much time focused on getting there. They don't often think about after, because they have to live in the moment. Well, as an athlete, especially a baseball player, you can't be thinking about the last time you struck out. You got to be focused on the moment, and that's kind of a bit of a microcosm of that. But speaking of minor league players, the work stoppage is not good. We all, and I don't think anybody thinks this work stoppage is good. The only benefit might be the fact that I'm watching Baltimore-Pittsburgh Game 7 on the MLB Network. They're showing all these classic games, but I would rather be talking about free agency and moving forward. Having said that, I saw something from Harold Baines the other day that he was talking about his lockout in the 80s, that it actually helped his career because he got more one-on-one structure time with the organization. And right now, as far as I know, the minor league players are the only guys that major league organizations can work with. So how can that benefit these guys? Is it just more one-on-one time with the big club and getting more face time? Is that how it would benefit minor league players right now?
No.
Okay.
Next question. No, teams don't care about the minor league players. This is why they don't have collective bargaining. This is why they don't have a union. Minor league baseball players are considered seasonal apprentices under the law. They are Major League Baseball's antitrust exempt from treating minor leaguers as normal employees. So right now, the work stoppage means that minor leaguers should be able to come and go from the facility, but they're not allowed to. They're not invited. So though I am a minor league baseball player for the Chicago Cubs, I can't go train at the Chicago Cubs facility unless those rules have changed in the last 2 weeks. Then I don't know. Minor leaguers don't have the same rights or the same opportunities that major leaguers do. Now, why is this? Because minor leaguers are an interchangeable asset. But we believe, and I firmly believe, if you provide any opportunity possible for these guys to be able to recover and develop, any opportunity for them to succeed, they will perform better at their job and become more valuable for you as an organization. So the fact that minor league baseball players don't have that, don't have collective bargaining, don't have the opportunity in front of them to become better athletes, where they can't train in the off season with the Cubs, where they have to get better on their own. How can they get better on their own when they live at home, they need to find a second job, and they don't have the energy or the money to train to get better for the season? So why isn't Major League Baseball? I just don't know, because there's minor league baseball players aren't afforded those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because they take them for granted. Because Major League Baseball looks at it as a turnstile, and it's they need to. Well, listen, we at UFF Sports are certainly trying to help out the athletes. We are very athlete friendly, and we know you've pointed out all of the reasons why minor league baseball players should get involved with More Than Baseball, and why athletes in general, I think, should get involved and do the research with UFFS about getting into the NFT space. And there's lots of things that we're excited about, and I know there's great things that you guys are doing as well. What I was really excited about in the baseball world in general general was the excitement during free agency. And when you talk about antitrust, there's lots of things that players, whether it's service time or free agency, this year, because of that work stoppage looming, we saw a really exciting free agency. How do we make that happen every year?
Well, I don't know, right? Why did it happen this year, right? Because major leaguers wanted to get paid before the lockout. They knew it was going to happen. We've known it's going to happen since the last CBA was agreed upon. I don't know how many years ago. I think there were good things and bad things that happened with that. The good things are players got paid. I think that's a good thing. Certainly for them, they make millions of dollars, but it was a good thing for baseball to see that activity, to see Javi Baez go to the Tigers, or to see this signing here, or the energy that the Mets got, or the Mets fan base got because Scherzer signed with them. That's good for baseball because that keeps baseball vibrant for a 12-year period. The most exciting thing about the NBA season is the offseason, and it should be the same way about baseball. And this year, it was primed to be, right? But what's happening right now is the biggest PR nightmare for Major League Baseball, right? Or fans of Major League Baseball, or the growth of the game, is because you have two sides, the players and the owners, that vibrantly hate each other, right? Because one is taking advantage of the other, or one is perceived to take advantage of the other. And the fans are right now in between going, well, I really like Max Scherzer, but he just signed for $40 million a year. So why am I going to side on the side of the players when I'm going to side on the side of the billionaire owner that owns the New York Mets? There's this weird thing happening in baseball right now where it's almost like it's at the tipping point. It's at the tipping point of continuing to be a prominent sport. I mean, the age of baseball fans is increasing year over year. I think the average age of a Major League Baseball fan is 50, and the game is wider than it ever has been. And so without the energy that baseball off seasons can bring, without the focus on the next year, and with these issues happening in minor league baseball, and with what's happening with the balls, I mean, there's just so much happening that is not good for baseball. Barry Bonds is on the ballot, Curt Schilling's on the ballot, and Roger Clemens is on the ballot for the last time in this 10-year period. Will they get voted in posthumously? Will the alumni committee vote them in? We don't know. But all of these things that have happened in baseball, minus Pete Rose. Pete Rose is the only thing that in the bad history of baseball that we haven't talked about lately. But every bad thing about baseball is coming up to the surface. So where are we going to be come opening day? Are we going to be in an agreement that everybody likes? Are two sides going to get along? Who knows? Probably not. Is Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and Curt Schilling going to get in the Hall of Fame? I don't know. Probably not. And so we're in this era of baseball of two eras colliding: the past and the real future, the full analytics future, are young people going to love baseball future? Is the game going to be better off? Am I going to be able to, I live in Arizona, am I going to be able to watch the Diamondbacks on my phone? I don't know, right? And so it's fun to be part of it in a small way, to represent minor leaguers and to represent the beauty of the game and to do the things that I can to push the game forward. And I think this is part of that. I think getting on a blockchain and being part of the crypto universe and the metaverse and all of this crazy stuff that's happening right now, we are certainly at the beginning of it. And so how can we continue to push the game forward in the way that it needs to be pushed forward? And I think it's fun and cool and exciting to think about the game in that way.
This has been a terrific conversation, and I really hope we can do it again sometime, Jeremy. This has been a lot of fun getting to know you. People can check out morethanbaseball.org, find out how you can help out minor league baseball players and get them on the next path, whenever that next path may come. Thank you so much for joining me on the show, Jeremy, and I look forward to getting to know you as an owner in the league.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, great conversation with Jeremy Wolf. And, of course, Inside UFLB is presented by Ultimate Franchise Fantasy Sports. It's the most realistic fantasy platform around. Ultimate Fantasy League Baseball, as long as Major League Baseball is playing, will begin March 31st. We have our top prospects auction in February, the main draft in March, and our futures auction for scouts in March as well. There are so many great things going on within UFF Sports in general. So check out the website, uffsports.com. If you'd like more information, you can email info@uffsports.com. And if you'd like more information on the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network, give them a follow on Twitter at UFS Network. Their DMs are open. All right, so we have our owners' meetings coming up in UFLB. They will take place in January. Once all franchises have paid in full, and congratulations, thanks to everybody who reached out to Liz and made some payment arrangements to get it done by December 1st. Your next deadline is December 31st, and once you have paid in full, you will be able to attend the off-season meetings. There are two of them. First meeting is Saturday, January 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The second meeting, Saturday, January 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have a proposal for change, it has to be into the league by January 22nd. I would get it in much sooner than that because the proposal might have to go back to you, and if there isn't enough time, it won't make it to the meeting. All votes must be in after the voting meeting on February 5th at 5 p.m. So the first meeting is to discuss things in general when it comes to the league. The second meeting is to discuss actual proposals that have been submitted, and then voting will be done the week after. And so some things will need to be established, like the fine system, and there will be some things, and we'll of course have an agenda that the owners will have discussions on, and then at the next meeting, and we will establish what needs to be worked on, and the owners can come up with some proposals. If there are no proposals, the league will provide them, and then the owners will vote on them. There will be fines if you don't vote. Abstaining does not count. If you don't vote, you get fined. If you vote only half, you get fined. So everybody is going to need to vote. You would not see teams in Major League Baseball skipping votes on something. So this is professional. We want to keep it that way. Now, some things can be proposed to change. Maybe you want a point system different. Maybe you think pitchers need to be more valued. Roster makeup. Maybe you want to have a limit of 13 pitchers and 13 hitters. Some things are up to the founders. Everything can be submitted. It will go to the founders. If approved and given the green light, it will come back to the league. But there are a lot of things. Keep in mind, there is a Johnny loophole in every league. Somebody is going to look at the rules and try to exploit it. So the faster owners can get ahead of any of those things, the better. We, as a league, have provided you with a base, and some of that can be molded by the owners. Some of it is going to be intact by the founders. But put your proposals together, put as much detail in those proposals, and be prepared to be called on at the meeting. If you submit a proposal for a category change, I'm going to ask you to explain it. You should have detail. You should hand out, if there's a document so people can read, give as much information to the owners as possible so they can make an informed decision. And the last thing, piece of advice, and I'm coming from having participated in one of our leagues, and I know what these owner meetings are like. Have an open mind. I did not always have an open mind when I went into these meetings in the beginning. And then as I learned more and I thought about, I think I have to think for the betterment of the league instead of what my team needs or what I think is the best. I started, opening up to more ideas and realizing how good these ideas are. So please have an open mind. I wasn't always having an open mind to the full season point scoring system, and now for a sport like for a sport like baseball or hockey, I wouldn't go back. Head to head in the playoffs for sure, but have an open mind and be prepared to present. Those are the two big things I can tell for anybody that is new to our league and approaching these owner meetings. And reach out to your fellow owners. These meetings are also a really good way to get to know some of your owners. We don't know a lot of these people because we're all spread out, but reach out to them on Telegram, DM, ask questions. They're here to help. They're not going to give you strategy advice on who to draft or anything like that, but platform questions. They've been through it before. Lean on these people, or the admins, myself, Matt, Brian, Gerald, Larry Fisher is just a wealth of information. Ask questions to these people and learn things, because the one thing I will stress is if you don't propose something for the off-season meetings, it will not be changed during the season. We will try to make as many changes only in the off-season. So if you have a good idea in June during the season, you have to either submit it then or make sure you propose it for the off-season meetings, because just because you had a good idea in June doesn't mean we're automatically going to put it up. So everything that you want possibly changed has to be proposed to the league. All right. What a fun show. What a great story from Jeremy Wolf, and what a great thing they are doing at More Than Baseball to try and help out the many baseball players out there. There's the information one more time, morethanbaseball.org. If you would like to be a part and help out, definitely make sure you check it out. And, of course, check out UFFsports.com, where sports NFTs come to play. Inside UFLB is part of the Ultimate Fantasy Sports Network. UFSN is your one-stop fantasy sports shop. Follow along on Twitter at UFS Network, and find UFSN on YouTube. If you have a fantasy show, hit us up and join the fun. All right, one more piece of advice before we go.
You be cocky and arrogant, even when you're getting beat.
And that is going to wrap things up for us on the program. As mentioned, big thanks to Jeremy Wolf, part owner in our UFLB, and great thing they've got going with More Than Baseball. Have yourselves a great weekend. Watch those old games. The work stoppage, I'm pretty sure, isn't going to last into the season. And be safe, especially if you're up in Canada with us. We've got some crazy freezing rain in the Alberta area. So thank you so much for tuning into the show. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll talk soon.